Uh, First, the background. We have got to look at the instruments, mode of operation, incentives, sections, that is sanctions and classification. If you look at the state social insurance, social assistance and transfers provided funds, the market is insurance policy or constant, that is for general. Member-based organizations are mutual arrangements and voluntary work, and private households are gift exchange, etc. So this table basically depicts all public and private social security system. Now, if you have to look at social security in India, it is the sum of all government regulations and provisions that aim at enhancing the people's living condition, including legislation, acts, laws, regulations, and planning in the field of old age, wage, employment, and social exclusion, sickness, and healthcare, and income security measures such as food security, employment security, education security, and health and housing, social insurance, and social assistance. In the Indian context, the state bears the primary responsibility for developing appropriate systems for providing social protection and assistance to its workforce. The matters relating to social security are listed in the Directory Principles of State Policy and the subject in the concurrent list of the Constitution of India. If you look at Indian Constitution and Social Security, concurrent list 3 in the 7th schedule of the Constitution of India, it is mentioned. Item number 23, Social Security and Insurance, Employment and Unemployment is also there in the section item 23. Item 24 is talking about welfare of labor, including condition of work, provident funds, provident funds, employer's liability, workmen's compensation, that is under the Workmen's Compensation Act, invalidity and old age pensions, and maternity benefits that is provided. Now, Part 4, Directive Principles of State Policy, Article 41, right to work, to education, and to public assistance in certain cases. The state shall, within the limits of its economic capacity and development, make effective provision for security, for securing the rights to work, to educate, and to public assistance in case of unemployment, old age, sickness, and disablement, and in other cases to undeserved want. Article 42 talks about provision for just and humane conditions of work and maternity relief. The state shall make provision for securing just and humane conditions of work and for maternity relief. The critical part of public policy and its development agenda since independence of 1947, India extended social protection measures to workers in the organized sector. That is, almost 90% of the industries were state-owned shortly after independence. This number has reduced drastically by now. For workers in unorganized sector, the emphasis was on promotional measures through social programs and later on through social assistance programs. Post 1991, that is after the economic reforms, which paved the way for beginning of debate formulation and visioning of viable social security programs in India, various efforts of the government in India recent years have been made. For example, the designing of new rights based on social security schemes, recasting of earlier schemes, introduction of innovative methods towards effective identification and enrollment of beneficiaries, and enactment of comprehensive legislations for social protections of unorganized sector workers. There are three types of social security basically. but we include welfare schemes as well, so that becomes 4. Contributory schemes, social welfare schemes, social assistance scheme, and promotional social security. Generally statutory administered by the governments except insurance schemes, accident insurance, medical facilities, old age pensions, maturity provident fund, maternity benefits, income security, and unemployment allowances are falling under this category. Many of these are operated by boards at the state level. The central government imposes a cess on employers for workers engaged in, for example, limestone workers, dolomite workers, iron ore workers, manganese workers, chrome and mica mines, and beauty industry, and the filmmaking and the theater industry as well. Centrally sponsored schemes like the National Social Assistance Program, with its 3 components of old age pensions, National Family Benefits Scheme, and National Maternity Benefits Scheme. Nationwide, programs such as the Public Distribution System, the Integrated Child Development Program, the Midday Meal Program in primary schools, the Supplementary Nutrition Programs, the Rural Employment Programs, that is the National Rural Livelihood Mission, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is Manrega, and Social Security System that is given in this particular table, right? Where we have EPFO scheme, Civil Services Scheme, Public Sector Enterprises, Occupational Pension Scheme, Voluntary Tax Advantage Scheme, and schemes for unorganized sector. The 2 in the beginning, that is EFO scheme, has got EPF and EPS schemes, and EDL1. Civil service assistants are having different programs. Similarly, schemes in voluntary tax are there, and schemes for unorganized sector is also there. Now, DB stands for defined benefit, DC defined contribution. Likewise, this legend is being explained that you'll get a slide and know. Social security in organized sector, if you look at, in India, the organized sector, which accounts for about 6% of the total workforce, benefits from fair minimum standards of social security. The principal security laws enacted in India for organized sector workers are Employees State Insurance Scheme of 1948, Employees Provident Fund and Miscellaneous Provisions of 1952, Employees Compensation Act of 1923, Maternity Benefits Act of 1961, and Payment of Gratuity Act of 1972. These are the legislations that provide social security benefits like medical facilities, employment, injury, maternity benefits, insurance pension, and gratuity, etc. to industrial and factory workers. Employee State Insurance Act of 1948 aims at medical care service. Medical care is also provided to families of insured persons, and cash benefits are provided. There is a qualification for this getting this scheme, that a person must have worked for a minimum period of 5 years. Coverage is, it applies to factories employing 10 or more persons. Employees of factories and establishment covered under the Act drawing monthly wages of 15,000 per month, which was the minimum wage earlier. Now it has been increased to 25,000. Extended to provide health care to workers in the unorganized sector, that is the beauty workers, cine workers, and non-coal mine workers. As on 31st of March 2011, the scheme applied to 0.44 million employers employing 1.55 crore insured persons at 790 centers in India. The contribution is that employers 4.75% of wage of the covered employees are there in this. and employees 1.7% of their wages would be there. That is, employees' contribution is 1.7% of their wage, and employer contributes 4.75% of the wage of that particular person. Agency is a state government except for Delhi, Noida, and model hospitals wherein ESIS is directly providing medical service. Delivery medical is through medical care. Service direct system, 156 hospitals, 42 NXCs, and 1402 dispensaries, and 93 ISM units are there for ESIS scheme. Delivery is cash benefits. It is also a network of 310 branch offices and 187 pay officers related to sickness, permanent disablement, and death benefits that is being provided. Right? Employees Provident Funds and Miscellaneous Provisions Act 1952, with effect from 14th of March 1952, it came into force, aim to provide social and economic security to industrial and other workers covered under the Act and their dependents in case of their premature death. That is, if somebody dies prematurely, that is before the age of superannuation, the dependents will get the benefit. Coverage is every establishment specified in the Schedule 1 to the Act and employing 20 or more workers. This is 20 or more workers with power. 3 schemes under this Act are Employees Provident Fund Scheme of 1952, Employees Pension Scheme of 1995, and Employee Deposit Linked Insurance Scheme of 1976. Employees Provident Fund Scheme of 1952. This came into force from 1st of November 1952, and the aim is to finance security for employees in establishment by providing a system of compulsory savings. The benefits are Employees Provident Fund Scheme take care of the following needs of the members. That is, upon retirement, they get entire Provident Fund, including the interest earned thereof. They get medical care scheme, they get housing, family obligation, education of children, financing of insurance policies when they can get the Provident Fund withdrawn or take loan. If somebody has worked for less than 10 years, they can take loan, that is up to 50% of the deposit, and their amount will be deducted in equal installment from their salaries. But once a person completes 10 years of compulsory service, they are entitled for withdrawal up to 75% of the balance. And once you withdraw, you don't have to pay back. Coverage is 182 specified industries, classes of establishment, 6,15,902 establishment and factories within membership of 50.8 million as on 31st of March 2010. The contribution is that as per amendment dated 22nd September 1997 in the Act, both employees and employer contribute to the fund at the rate of 12% of the basic wage, that the dearness allowances and remaining allowance, if any, payable to employees per month. Employees Pension Scheme of 1995. This came into force from 16th of November 1995. The aim is conceived as benefits defined social insurance scheme formulated following actuarial principles of ensuring long-term finance sustenance. Coverage is all the new members of Provident Fund and existing members who are contributing to Employees Family Pension Scheme of 1971. Benefits will be members' pension, including disablement pension, widow pension, children pension, orphan pension, dependent parent pension, nominee pension, etc. Contribution is no separate contribution has to be made by the employee except what is being deducted. Devises its financial resource by partial diversion from the Provident Fund contribution, the rate being 8.33% of the wages, and the central government contributes at the rate of 1.16 on wage at the end of the year. That is, if you have got employee pension scheme, 1.16% is contributed by the government and 8.33% by the employer. The employee deposit linked insurance scheme that came into force from the 1st of August 1976. Benefits are on death while in service, Provident Fund accumulation plus an additional amount equal to the average balance in the Provident Fund account of the deceased during preceding 1 year is paid to the family. The maximum amount of benefit payable is 1,30,000. And the coverage is all employees who are members of the Provident Fund is exempted as well as unexempted in schemes. 16 million members across the country are present. Contribution, employees are not required to pay any contribution. Employers contribute to the insurance fund at the rate of 0.5% of pay of the scheme members, that is. Employees Compensation Act of 1923. This came into force from 1st of July 1924. If personal injury is caused to a workman by accident arising out of employment, and in the course of his employment, his employer shall be liable to pay compensation. Compensation rate is 1,20,000 in case of death and 1,40,000 in case of disablement resulting from injury. This is the minimum payment that has to be made. Funeral expenses of 5,000. Reimbursement of actual medical expenditure, whatever has been incurred by the employee for treatment of injury caused during course of employment without any ceiling on this. Maternity Benefits Act of 1961. This came into force from the 12th of December 1961. Before this act, state governments do had their state Maternity Benefits Act. Once the Central Act came, they are at freedom to either continue with the old scheme or adopt the central scheme of 1961. The aim was to regulate the employment of women for certain period before and after childbirth and provide for maternity and certain other benefits. Coverage it applies to mines, factories, circus industry, plantations, and shops or establishment employing 10 or more persons, including any such establishment belonging to government, except the employees who are covered under the Employees State Insurance Scheme of 1948. Also is covered by the Gratuity Act of 1970. Is engaged in motor transport, undertaking in shops, educational institutions, or other establishments, which either on subconversion, that is at the time of retirement, or on retirement or resignation, or on death or disablement due to accident or disease. A benefit is every employee other than an apprentice, irrespective of his wage, is entitled to receive gratuity after she or he has rendered contribution service for 5 years or more. The ceiling on maximum amount of gratuity has been revised from 0.35 million rupees to rupees 1 million with effect from 24th of May 2010. In the pay commission for those workers who are covered under the Central Pay Commission, this amount has been revised to 20 lakhs of rupees. But there is a slab, 3 slab schemes operate, that is 10 lakhs, 15 lakhs, and 20 lakhs, depending on the scale of the individual. This amount will increase to 12.5 lakhs, 17.5 lakhs, and 25 lakhs once DA reaches 50% level. Now, social security in unorganized sector, 94% of the Indian workforce is in the unorganized sector. The unorganized sector is quite heterogeneous in terms of types of workers who work in sector and their geographical spread, providing social security benefits in a phased manner to the vast workforce in the unorganized sector and making sustained efforts in this direction. Three categories of social security programs for unorganized sector workers, that is social assistance programs, food-based transfer programs, income transfer programs, cash transfer programs, social insurance scheme, and social welfare funds. The food-based transfer programs, that is midday meal scheme that started in 1995, community grain bank scheme 96, targeted public distribution system 1997, and Antyodaya Anna scheme of 2000. Some of these schemes have been revised by the present government. Income transfer programs, food for work program, Jawahar Rozgar Yojana, Sampurn Gram Swarozgar Yojana, Jawahar Gram Samriddhi Yojana, Employment Assurance Scheme, Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, Food for Work program for calamity hit states. Some of these programs have also been renamed. A Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, that is Manrega. Now, this came into force on 2nd of February 2006. The aim was to enhance livelihood security of households in rural areas of the country by providing at least 100 days of guaranteed wage employment in a financial year to every household whose adult members volunteer to do unskilled manual work. First ever law internationally that guarantee wage employment at an unprecedented scale. Funding is by central government. The entire cost of wage of unskilled manual workers, 75% of the cost of material, wages of skilled and semi-skilled workers. The state will provide 25% of the cost of material wages of skilled and semi-skilled workers. Unemployment allowances will also be provided. Coverage in 2010-11 is 627 districts in all over India. 120 million job cards issued. 55 million households provided employment. 49% share of women in the workforce is there. Now, Cash Transfer National Social Assistance Program is a flagship program of or welfare program of Government of India initiated on 15th August 1995. The scheme is administered by the Ministry of Rural Development, Government of India, through the beneficiary could hail from either urban or rural area. The scheme is complementary, sponsored by the central government. NSAP is immediately implemented in the state and union territories in accordance with the general conditions applicable to all components of the NSAP, as well as specific conditions applicable to each component. NSAP at present comprises of Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme, Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme, and National Family Benefit Scheme, and Annapurna. Under the Union Budget of 2012-13, raising the allocation under the National Social Assistance Program by 37% from 6,158 crores in 2011-12 to 8,447 crores in 2012-13. Then we have got National Social Assistance Program, that is Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. Under the scheme, BPL pension aged 60 years of above are entitled to a monthly pension of 200 rupees up to 79 years of age and rupees 5,000 thereafter. Coverage is 17 million population of 2010-11. Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme for BPL widows aged 40 to 59 years are entitled to monthly pension of 200. Coverage is 3.4 million women. Those who are widow as far as 2010-11 data is concerned. Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme, that is BPL pension aged 18 to 59 years age with severe and multiple disability, that is entitled to a monthly pension of rupees 200. Coverage is 1.3 million population in 2010-11. National Family Benefit Scheme. Under the scheme, BPL household is entitled to lump sum amount of monthly on the death of primary breadwinner aged 18 years to 64 years. The amount of assistance is rupees 10,000. Coverage is 0.3 million households in 2010-11. Annapurna, under the scheme, 10 kilograms of food grains per month are provided free of cost to those senior citizens who, though eligible, have remained uncovered under NOAP's coverage of 1 million population. A social insurance scheme, that is Jan Shri Bima Yojana, Aam Aadmi Bima Yojana, Rashtriya Swasthya Bima Yojana, or national health insurance schemes which are operated. This came into force from 1st of April 2008. Aim is to provide protection to BPL household from financial liabilities arising out of the health shocks that involve hospitalization. Benefits would be rupees 30,000 per year for most of the diseases that is required hospitalization. Funding is by 75% central government and 25% state government. For northeastern states, that is the Seven Sisters, Central provides 90% and 10% is to be provided by the Seven Sister states. The scheme is beneficiary pay only 30 rupees as the registration fee. Coverage, it extends to 5 members of BPL family, which includes the head of the household, spouse, and up to 3 dependents. 20.8 million active smart card holders are present. That was distributed on 12th of April 2012. 3.4 million total hospitalization cases as on 12th April 2012 is extended to cover construction workers, NREGA workers, beneficiaries, street vendors, beauty workers, and domestic workers. Further extended to sanitization workers, rack pickers, mine workers, rickshaw pullers, and auto rickshaw and taxi drivers. Social security through central welfare funds. Separate legislations have been enacted for setting up labor welfare funds to provide healthcare, education, recreation, housing, and water supply to workers employed in certain social mines, BD workers, in non-coal mines, BD work industry, and cine workers. The finances are raised by imposing cess on the commercial activity of the target group. The Mica Mine Labor Welfare Fund Act of 1946 is there. The Limestone and Dolomite Mines Labor Welfare Funds of 1972. The Iron Ore, Manganese Ore, and Chrome Ore Mines Welfare Funds Act 1976. BD Workers Welfare Fund Act 1976 and the Cine Worker Welfare Funds 1981. A recent legislative interventions initiatives are also there. The Unorganized Workers Social Security Scheme 2008, National Skill Development Policy 2008, that is there. Social Security Scheme in India, the challenges. Funding of social security measures is a big challenge. Unavailability of reliable data, lack of involvement of people in designing the package of the diverse schemes, a poorly designed and executed household targeting mechanization, lack of coordination and overlap in delivery of program reduces accountability of those responsible for social security services. Now, one of the biggest problem is that the amount that originates from the central government, by the time it reaches the beneficiary, it becomes very, very small amount, because cost of administration is much higher than the amount that is paid to the beneficiary. Right? Now we will look at the theoretical part of this particular social scheme that will be dealt with tomorrow, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.